What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Barbados Walker. I am your host, Andrew, and in this video, I want to lift you up. I want to give you a message. I want to help you understand something that I just recently understood. Because thank God it's Friday. This is a day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice. Everybody is coming back home or has already reached home, and now you're settling in for the weekend. You're settling in after a very stressful week, after a long week, and I have just the right message for you. So, as my Caribbean friends will say in general, I came across a revelation when I was preparing for this video. And specifically, as my Bayesian friends will say, big man, what you gotta do is you gotta listen, because really and truly that's the best thing for you right now. So pay attention to everything you're about to hear, and I want to see how you're going to apply it this weekend, the rest of the week. So what is this great big revelation? It's very simple. And I'm going to explain, but it's very, very simple. And it is this: everything is not as it appears to be. Now that sounds very straightforward, like duh, obviously, everything is not as it appears to be. You believe everything you see, you believe everything on the internet. Of course, everything is not as it appears to be, especially now when artificial intelligence, AI, all of these things are all over the internet and people don't know what to believe. People don't know. Well, let me tell you something. This has been going on before AI. This has been going on before artificial intelligence, and there is a solution. There is a way that you can use an understanding of this principle to get ahead in life and to do certain things and get certain results. All right? So, when something is advertised, right, whether it is deliberate marketing or deliberate advertisement, or you just notice something, you have to realize that what you are seeing is not an objective reality of what exists. You are seeing things based on your own collected experiences, right? All your experiences over the years, from when you were born till now. That is how you're seeing things. And that determines how you feel about the things you're seeing and how you act, your attitude, all of those things about the things you're seeing. For example, two people can buy a similar type of house or the same type of car, for example, but for completely different reasons. One person is looking at the car, let's say is a woman, she's looking at the car, she's thinking, I have to do a bunch of school runs. I have 3 children, I need a spacious vehicle, I go to the market all the time and I need place to put all the groceries after I buy them and all of those things. Another guy is looking at the car and he's thinking, this car is too big. I'm a bachelor. I don't have a family. I don't need to spend all this money to get a very big car. I just need something to take me from point A to point B because I just got a job and I don't want to be stuck in traffic. I want to be very effective. So I'm going to get a simple vehicle that will just be functional and service purpose, and then that's all I care about. So for these two people, one may be looking at the car and saying, no, this is not a good car. But what he actually means is, this is not a good car for me, for my situation, for what I'm currently experiencing, and I don't want to make this purchase, right? The problem people have is that they assume that their experiences, their personal experiences, are the same for everyone. And this specifically applies to people who are very knowledgeable or very intelligent. In fact, it has a terminology. It's called the curse of knowledge. What the curse of knowledge is when you know something, you feel like everybody else knows it and it becomes commonplace. You feel like it's not special. Everyone should know it. And that is why a lot of times you hear people saying, is he stupid? He should know this. He's old enough to know this. He's old enough to know that. age doesn't determine whether a person becomes intelligent or not. We have all met very quote-unquote mature human beings who behave as if they don't have any information or any knowledge about basic societal norms. We have all met people like that. And we have all met much younger people who seem to be wise beyond their age. This is because people take deliberate, specific actions and steps to improve their knowledge, to improve their intelligence. And if you don't take those specific actions and steps, you're not going to have that experience. So, when you're looking at something or when you're interacting with an individual, always remember that even though the person appears to know what he's doing, or the person appears to be, confident or have certain background or whatever, if it isn't specifically the case, explicitly mentioned or revealed that that is the case, don't make assumptions. Always verify. I remember when I was first coming to the Caribbean and I had very, very crazy expectations about the Caribbean. I got a very thick coat because I thought that it snowed in the Caribbean. I don't know where I got this idea, but I probably wasn't a very bright kid. But I got a very thick coat and I thought there's going to be a lot of snow in the Caribbean. It's going to be very cold and I'll need to get even like a hand gloves and thick boots and everything. And I wonder how school is going to be and so on and so forth. Maybe there will be a lot of, white people, Caucasians. I had this entire mindset about the Caribbean because in my mind, the Caribbean was in the Americas. And American movie, Hollywood, everything that you see in Hollywood, that is what I thought I was coming to see. So imagine my surprise when I landed in the Caribbean and every single person I saw looked basically the same like the people I was seeing back at home in Nigeria. The same kinds of faces everywhere. There was no snow. It was a tropical environment like Nigeria. It was the same 90% African descent like Nigeria. And almost everything was basically the same with the people and most of the environment and stuff like that. And so I had to then, look at me now, I had to then start doing research about the Caribbean when I was already in the Caribbean. And by then I was 18 years old. Now you would think someone who is 18 has some brain cells and knows exactly what to expect. But that wasn't the case for me. Now, imagine if someone had come up to me with certain expectations. This guy is basically an adult. At 18, you become a legal adult. And he expects that I know certain things and I can do certain things. And with that assumption, he just starts dealing with me. It's going to be very unfortunate for him because he will be very disappointed with the outcome. This is what I always say. When you meet people, it doesn't matter where you meet them. Whether you meet them in the bank, whether you meet them in professional settings. As I've met police officers who didn't know the law, right? Police officers who didn't know the law. You would think that someone who has passed the test and is wearing the uniform at least knows the law. But you'll be surprised that he doesn't. And this is very possible because when you go to any institution, like let me use the police as example. When you go to any institution, you expect that you're not going to be given your qualifications or your certifications until you have passed the exam. But everybody knows that you don't need to get 100 on the exam to pass, right? Right? If you're in the UK system, you need to get 50 and you pass. If you're in a US system, you need to get 70 and you pass. I don't know what the pass mark is in St. Vincent, but you get the point. You don't need to get 100% to pass. So what if the law that you're asking the police officer about is the law he failed on the exam, but he still passed the exam? You get what I'm saying? So he didn't pass that specific law you're asking him about, but he passed the exam and he probably got a B or even an A. He just didn't get 100%. Right? So you have to keep all these things in mind. You meet somebody in a professional setting and you say, well, I expect him to know this, but maybe he just didn't come across that information until he met you, because that is how human beings learn. We experience new situations and we learn from those new situations. So let's bring it back to the individual, right? Many people go to college and they feel like college or university, whatever, and you feel like, well, once I graduate, I'm going to have this certificate and then I'm going to be able to get a job. But the reality is, not everything is as it seems to be. Because you may be thinking, all you need to do is graduate and then you get a job. If you apply for any job, they're going to give you the job. No. You need to first ask yourself, how many graduates are unable to find a job? Is this specific to Barbados? Is this specific to the United States? Is this specific to the UK? No, it's not. All across the world, there are people with bachelor's degrees. There are people with master's degrees. There are people with doctoral degrees that are jobless. And it's not because they are dumb. It's not because they're not willing to work. It's just that when you felt like the degree that you're getting is the only thing that you need to get a job, that wasn't the reality. That was something you believed, either because somebody has told you about it, or you were desperate, or you were in need of a job, or whatever the case may be. But that wasn't 100% the reality. You may be also thinking, well, I don't care about any of these degrees and I'm going to just go start my business. And many people think, well, I'll just start a business and then I'm going to succeed. I'm going to be a very rich man. But again, everything is not as it seems to be. You may start a business and then you realize, well, there are a whole bunch of things you need to do. Maybe you need to register the business. Maybe you need to file for certain licenses or permits, depending on what kind of business you're doing. Maybe you need to, there are a whole bunch of stuff. And then you start talking about profit and how to price your stuff and marketing and advertising and branding and all this stuff that you need to do to get a business running. And then people will start coming and asking you for discounts, and then people are wanting to buy from you on credit and so many things, right? There's so many things involved in running a business. And when people meet all those things and they experience all those things, they feel like, oh, but they told me that all I have to do is start a business but the truth is that yes, you can succeed while being a business owner, but it's not as easy as it looks when you see it on TV or when you read it in a textbook or whatever. The reality is much different. The reality of getting a job after graduating is much different than what is advertised. The reality of running a business is much different than what is advertised. It doesn't have to be. Now, I have to say this. It doesn't have to be difficult. Many people assume that life is hard and they just go by that. No, life doesn't have to be difficult. Life doesn't have to be impossible or hard or whatever. That's not the reality either. But you have to realize that there is a significant amount of work that needs to be done. You need to put in a lot of work, right? It's not necessarily, you need to struggle and life is difficult and it's impossible or whatever. No, but you need to work. The idea that you're going to have 4 hours a day to press your phone or 10 hours a day to press your phone is ridiculous, right? How many hours are you going to use to work? If you're pressing your phone for 5 hours and you sleep in for 8 hours, you've already consumed 13 hours of the day. And then you have to cook and you have to bathe and you have to eat and you have to, all this other stuff. What time do you have to work, right? So you have to think about all this stuff and know that there are certain sacrifices that you have to make to create the life that you want. So everybody should be able to dream. Everybody should understand that imagination and dreaming is extremely important for a human being. If you are hopeless, if you have no dreams, no goals, no vision, no imagination, you're not going to achieve anything significant. You're just going to pay your bills, wake up the next day, go to work, pay your bills, wake up the next day. And people keep doing that until the age of 60, 70, 80, and then they become miserable, right? They're not happy because they just continued a cycle that wasn't fulfilling and wasn't meaningful to them. So you have to understand that deliberately thinking about the kind of life that you want and strategically working towards building that is very important, because it will require hard work. It will require significant effort. But when you put in the significant effort, especially when you put in that amount of effort, doing something that you are already good at or doing something that you would like to be good at, then you get rewards on your investment. That is just how it goes. And I want to mention this because I see this also bleeding into people's faith experience. Because many people feel like, okay, now I'm going to give my life to Christ. I'm going to be a very holy person. I'm going to be a Christian and whatever. And then they imagine that as soon as they say that and they pick up the Bible, there's going to be a glowing halo around their head and their body is going to start shining with light, and then everybody is going to come and say, brother, you seen a vision? You seen a vision, boy? Tell me what the Lord tell you. Lord Jesus, tell me. But in reality, that is not the case. In fact, when you decide that you're going to be a good and nice and holy Christian, that is when you get the most amount of temptations. And it's not because you're a bad person or something. It's just how things work. That is just how our planet, our universe is designed. This is the full definition of the survival of the fittest. What does that mean? It means, are you prepared? Have you readied your mind? Have you readied your heart? Have you readied your emotion to create the kind of environment that you want, the kind of life that you want, the kind of situation and destiny that you want? Or are you just going to lie down and surrender yourself? Right? This is the problem that many people have. And this is something that I had to learn the hard way in 2016. Because I used to have this mindset where if I just find a lot of people who agree with me that what I think the problem is actually the problem, then I'm good. And that was the mindset that I was going with. I didn't know that that was what I was doing, but it showed in my actions. And you find out that when someone starts to complain about the government, they find other people who complain about the government, all of them gather together and they start complaining about the government. And now they feel like the more they complain about the government, the more they are exonerated because, oh, my life is hard because of the government. If the government can just do this, if the big CEOs of big companies can just do this, if my boss can just do this, if this can just do this, my life will be fine. The problem with this mindset is, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, nobody is thinking about you. Is the hard truth. I had to come to that hard realization because I asked myself one day, and this is how I realized it. I asked myself one day, how many times this day have I thought about other people's problems and actively tried to figure out how to solve their problems? How many times have I done it? And for how many people? And you realize that most people are preoccupied with their problems because their problems are very serious. Everybody has a very serious problem that they are dealing with. And then when they are not thinking about their problems, they are thinking about their very close friends and immediate family members. That is just how the human mind works. If you're sitting in Bridgetown, you're not usually thinking about somebody all the way in Spitestown and wondering, oh, have they eaten today? Do they have a job? What can I do? No, that's not how the human brain works. The human brain is thinking, I need to get what I came to Bridgetown to do and get it done. Oh, by the way, I have to meet this other person. I have a meeting. Blah, blah, blah. It's I, me. And occasionally you remember somebody else. That is how our brains work. So for you to think that in a country that has over 200,000 people, or in a country that has over 1 million people, or in a country that has over 300 million people, one president is actively thinking about you specifically and how to make your life specifically better, that's just ridiculous, right? There are other problems that he has to think about, both personal problems and the problems that naturally come with the office. So what do you have to do? Simple. Take personal responsibility for your life and try to figure out what is it in the world, in this country, in the universe, in the planets, in other people's countries that I can use, that can help me to get ahead, right? Because let me tell you something. If you're broke and homeless, you cannot help anybody. This is the reality. So when you keep thinking, well, it's not my fault, it's the government fault, it's not my fault, it's my parents' fault, my parents, they're real wicked, my parents wicked, and they're doing all this kind of thing. No, when you're thinking like that, you are not making any progress, right? Many times the people you are angry at, the people who you think should take more responsibility, they are actually living very great lives. That's the most annoying part about the world we live in. We think that because we hate someone or because we don't like the way a certain person behaves, that person's life is automatically going to become more difficult, right? We have been fooled by social media and by movie industries, by Hollywood, by Nollywood, by Bollywood, that all the bad people are going to get punished and all the good people are going to live happily ever after. But that is not the reality that we see in the world today. In fact, if you're religious, you realize that is not even the reality that God promised us, right? God didn't promise us that everybody we hate is going to suffer or everybody we love is going to have a wonderful time. No, in the Bible, we see genuinely hardworking and honest people being maltreated by wicked people, and the wicked people had fantastic lives, right? The only thing we know from religion is that on the last day, God is going to judge everyone by what they have done, right? Nothing says that you must be a multimillionaire on earth if you're rich. That is the prosperity gospel. Nothing says that you must be an absolute abject pauper in abject poverty if you're a wicked person. No, nothing says that. So ultimately, you have to take responsibility for yourself. Whether you claim, you love people, you're not. Some people are going to give the excuse that, but I ain't care about money like that. Money is not everything. But that's just a lie, right? Everybody on earth cares about money. Do you know why? Because everybody leaves their home, their comfortable home, to go and work, to go and make ends meet. The only difference between the people who are successful and the people who are not successful are the people who are successful have taken responsibility for their life. They're not playing the blame game. They're not trying to see who is at fault, who is responsible, who wants them dead, who didn't treat them nice, whatever. They have taken responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, take responsibility for your lives and you will see results. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you all the best and I'll see you in the next video.